The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, Taking Chances listeners. It's your host, Justin.
And Burnett.
Thank you.
And this is a brand new episode, guys. So I kind of want to shed some light on a topic that I really think is just, it's getting out of control these days. I kind of feel like niggas these days have it too easy. And I kind of think niggas are really getting comfortable. You know, I kind of feel like it's way too much fuck shit. It's way too much lies, too much. It's just too much bullshit going on. I kind of feel like, you know, we all have these stories. You guys are in a safe place right now because you guys are in a relationship. You guys are like the goal right now. But I think a single folk out there, like, it's getting real crazy.
Yeah, I've heard the saying that there's pee in the dating pool, and I think I said that before in an episode, but that's definitely a phrase that's been going around, that the dating pool has a lot of pee in it, and it's hard for people who are dating. It's hard just overall because you never know what you're gonna get. You don't know if people are really representing themselves to who they really are. The person that you're meeting, are they just a representative? Is that really who they authentically are? You don't know. It takes time to get that information. But I think we got somebody today that's going to help us, give us a little insight and at least some tips to kind of show us things that are red flags, things to look out for, whether it's friendships or relationships. But we got a good person coming on today. So
I hear but I hear it's a blast from the past, a good blast from the past though. Guys, I am happy to bring back my good sis, Mr. Bevan J. Holloway. Bevan, come on to the group.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Of course.
How you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. How are y'all?
Good. Excited to have you because I know you got some stories to tell.
Unfortunately, I got a lot of them to tell.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just going to let Justin kind of lead the conversation because I don't know where it is you want to go and take us on this journey today. I'm blessed to actually know some of these stories personally, you know? But I don't want to give too much. As your friend, I don't want to give too much that I'm not supposed to give. So I'm going to let Justin just lead us, ease us in. Like, it's like a baptism, okay? We walk into the water.
As he eases in, if I forget some stuff that you remember because you was living with me through this experience, I was in there.
I got you, friend.
You know what the interesting thing about that though, baby? You reminded me of, like, Burnett has literally lived with me, like lived through these experiences with me too. So she really is the oracle of these stories. So you help me out here when I need to pin back some details too. But I guess where I want to start with, Bev, why do you feel like niggas these days have to put on a front for who they are when you first meet them?
I feel like it depends. I feel like it's different for straight and gay people. I feel like with straight people, it's more of like, you know, the guy, they're going to be the provider, they're the baller, they're the one that can trick all the cash. And the girls are like, oh, I want somebody to spend on me and all this stuff, you know, whatever. So that little dynamic there, it's like they're going to be fronting from the beginning on how much money they're making, whether they're making it legally or illegally. And a lot of the girls, they'll definitely just kind of like see what all that the guy will contribute to. And if they contribute to a lot in the beginning, it's like, well, shit, let me go ahead and put my purse up so I ain't got to do too much. Which, you know, there's no problem with that. With gay guys or gay or lesbian women, I feel like it's a little different. I feel like it has a little bit of that, but I feel like it's also about like the dominance and submission thing too, you know, because like the whole top, bottom, all that different stuff. So I just feel like a lot of people just want to just kind of like set a tone of they want somebody to buy into, but if you're gonna set that tone, keep the tone consistent. Some people stone and then it's a whole new nigga in 2 weeks. So it just really depends. But I think for me, that's what I think it is.
Okay. Bev, me and you were talking offline about this terminology of the trial period, where you meet a guy or a girl, you get to know them the first time you buy a product or a service, you want to try it out. get to know them a little bit, and then if eventually somewhere in the free trial you decide, you know what, this service isn't for me. Is that becoming more of a widely accepted thing within dating, or is it just just a phase where things are at right now?
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with the trial period. I just don't want you to waste my time with the trial period. Usually that trial period is an average of like 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you might not even see, hear, or even notice the person is even gone. But I feel like from day one, if you don't really get that vibe, just let it go to be. You are not gonna hurt my feelings, I promise you. Just tell me from the beginning what your expectations are, what your intentions are, because if you think it's not going to work out, if I think it's not going to work out, then let it continue. There's other people out there, we can explore that and not waste any time. So I don't see anything wrong with trial period, I just don't want it to be prolonged.
I think for me, so I agree, I don't mind the trial period, but I just feel like with any trials, like, you state your intentions, what you want to get out of the product. Like, you come with the intention of like, hey, I'm trying this product out because here's what I'm looking to get out of this service. And if I don't get that service, hey, I'm gonna let you go. And I just kind of feel like it's all about being intentional with your intention.
But some products be defective, just like niggas. Like, they be defective.
Oh wait, guys, the reason why I love this analogy is because I'm actually, I like really nice things, but I'm really cheap when it comes to services. So, like, I will order something knowing that it's a free trial period and cancel right before that I have to start paying. So, I have the intention that I'm not intending to pay. I'm intending to cancel. So, when you think about dating, there are people, their intention is never really to pay. Like, they're not invested in you, in the actual service. They know they want to use it for the trial period and dip. So, like, I really think that analogy is really, like, y'all don't even know how on point it is, because a lot of people are like me, just instead of, like, I'm not like that in dating, y'all, as you can see. But I'm just saying, like, when it comes to certain services, like, my intention for sure is definitely to cancel. Like, I'm clicking cancel trial as soon as I buy it. Like, that's me. So
Amazon Prime, when they say free shipping,
exactly. If it's for the month, I'm gonna take it for the month. But best believe I'm canceling before they start charging
on the 29th day.
Yeah, I'm canceling.
Like, in my calendar the day of
okay.
the notification.
Yeah. So that's really interesting.
But Q, you have I love your shirt today. That shirt really hits home for me, because these niggas these days are scam likely. They're scam likely, and I think that back to the whole trial period thing. Like, like, I feel like nowadays people would rather not state the intention and lead you on with a whole completely different story, side, or perception of who they are, what they want, and it's getting wild these days.
So I love that we talked about it. We introduced the topic, but I really want to get into some case studies. Okay, I want to really get some like stories. Like, I want to know what is like the worst nightmare that y'all had when it came to dating someone, talking to somebody, and they just absolutely turned out to be something that you couldn't have imagined or would not have imagined.
Well, you already know mine.
I know, but the people need to know, Kevin.
All right. Beth, for the sake of the episode, we are going to refer to that which shall not be named, both of our that which shall not be named, as patient zero. Okay?
Bro. I mean, but the way this patient zero is, we might need to give a name to give a warning, but patient zero. Oh my gosh, I got ready.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so mind you, before me and Brunette met in law school, I was living in Houston, and I was dating long distance, and that lasted for like maybe like six months, and it was great, whatever. But then after I ended that, I was focused on school, and I wasn't even really dating or anything like that. And I got a little Facebook message from this individual living in Chicago, you know, from St. Louis. And, you know, I'm not really familiar with the community. But, you know, now I know St. Louis, they, you know, breed scammers. You know, I know that now. But, you know, during that time, I was like, okay, cool. You know, very attractive. I really don't care for light skin, but, you know, real cute, you know, seemed cool. And in Iowa, I hated staying there during the holidays. So weekends, but I planned on going to Houston home for Christmas break and decided to stay in Iowa for Thanksgiving. So around that time is when we started communicating via Facebook, and Patient Zero, you know, suggested that I came to Chicago, you know, to visit, you know, his apartment and all that different stuff. And I was like, you know, it's Thanksgiving, you know, we could like, I'm not really the best cook. I can follow a recipe. I'm not really the best cook, but I was like, you know, we can make a little Thanksgiving meal, all this different stuff. So, you know, went there, did that. Great vibes, great energy, nice apartment. It was like located in Hyde Park in Chicago, which is a nice area right by the lake. You know, nice furniture, all this different stuff. The vehicle was this, you know, black truck. And I'm like, okay, it's a nice truck, all this different stuff. But, you know, we didn't really go anywhere in it, you know, because it was like, oh, you know, we're going to go out, we're going to be drinking, we don't need to drive. And, you know, parking's really bad. So, okay, you know, he's just so, you know, responsible, you know, all this different stuff. So, go back to Iowa for school, still keeping in contact, still getting to know each other. And it didn't really seem like it was long distance. So we talked every day, all day. Personality was great. Enjoyed this individual. And, you know, he came out to Iowa. I went out to Chicago.
Can I just step in real quick? I feel like there is something very important that the people are not being told.
Oh.
So.
Oh. All of it is lies. Oh, yeah, you know.
Not that part. No. But, I mean, from what I recall, Patient Zero worked at Google, which is like.
Oh, wait, no, I'm getting there. When we first met, Patient Zero didn't work at Google. Patient Zero was a consultant for this other company. And I remember during the Christmas party, you know, because I went there for Thanksgiving, and then I went back in like December, I think, before I went to Houston. And there was this Christmas party. You know, he invited me to the Christmas party, and he worked there. You know, come to find out, you know, later on, he wasn't a consultant there. He worked at like the front desk. But, you know, I didn't know that at the time. Just met him. Say he's a consultant there. Cool. And then, you know, as, you know, my law program started progressing, I guess that kind of made him want to amp up his vibe. So then that's when he was like, oh, you know, I'm applying for this position, a consultant position, the same position I'm doing now for Google. I'll be getting paid more, all some stuff. So I'm like, well, shit, you know, apply. This should be a great opportunity. So, you know, he's applying for this position. He's walking me and social media through the process. I mean, I'm seeing Google orientation folders. And then when he starts working there, his boss is shouting him out the first couple of weeks for meeting his quota or whatever. He's talking about, you know, I know you're a student and you got different holiday vacations. I'm gonna have my secretary share my Outlook calendar with you so you can see when I have to meet with my clients, so we can kind of align our free time to have trips, all different stuff. So I'm like, okay, you know, he's doing his thing, you know, whatever. And I think like the first time I went out there, it's like you could tell that he was trying to be flashy. Like I was, of course, a broke law student, but I wasn't like poor, like kind of poor. Like if this is like poor, I was like just a little bit above it. So I wasn't like all the way poor, but you don't have to flash money at me for me to be interested, you know? So he would like always have cash and always have all this different stuff, you know, whatever. So working at Google, and I guess, you know, that wasn't enough lies to tell. So all of a sudden it was like, you know, Bevan, you inspired me. You know, you're in school to be a lawyer and all some stuff. I'm going to enroll in DePaul University here in Chicago. I'm going to get my MBA. They got a part-time program. I'm going to be going to classes from 6 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays and all this different stuff. So I'm just like, you know, I found me a good individual. Like, Zero worked for Google, making 6 figures. You got this nice apartment in Hyde Park. you are in an MBA program, and you're making time to build a relationship with me. And don't even feel like you're missing the beat because
I would have signed the lease too with all that.
So I'm thinking everything is great, you know. And in the beginning, you know, when we went out and stuff like that, he would definitely like, you know, cover meals and all that different stuff. And in my head, I don't mind going Dutch. You know, I can pay my way, you can pay your way. Of course, if I'm not working for Google making six figures, you know, we might be, you know, it might not be no tomahawk steak. It might be a little pasta, you know, a little place down the street. You get a little special, you might even get a little coupon. But we can still go out. We can still make this work. But, you know, in the beginning, he would want to go to all these little fancy places, whatever. He'll cover it. Great. Because I'm like, well, I guess he sees you're the one working for Google making six figures. So, you know, great. And it's going to be an investment. I'll be done with school. I'll be able to, you know, take you out and all that stuff. And we'll talk about all these plans. Because my cousin owns a firm in Dallas. So I'm like, yeah, if when I graduate here, I'm not staying in Iowa. I'm going to go to Dallas, work for his firm. He was looking to transfer to the Google location in Dallas, you know, making all these grand plans. So as we're building this foundation, and I'm thinking everything is great, all this different stuff, there's like different red flags that kept popping up that wasn't making sense. Like, he was great with this fake schedule that he had, but it's like when he was talking about his classes, he would talk about how, and I would remember everything. So he was talking about how, you know, it's this auditorium style room, and he sits all the way in the back, and there's, you know, this one student in the front that wanted to be in his group, you know, and she just knew that from his share outs and his commentary in class that he was a scholar that she wanted in his group. So she went to him, asked to be in this group, all this different stuff, you know, talking about this. I'm like, okay, you doing good, you know, whatever. And one day I was asking him, I was like, because he was like, oh yeah, I got to, you know, campus early, so I'm gonna just try to knock out some work or whatever before, you know, the rest of the students come in. So, you know, I FaceTimed him, and, you know, he was in his classroom. It was like a conference style room. I said, oh, this is the classroom that you've been in? He was like, yeah. And I'm looking, it looked like, you know, a conference room, you know, a long table with chairs around it. And I'm like, I remember he said, you know, auditorium, you know, but I'm just like, okay, maybe it's just a different room for the day. I'm not really tripping, you know, because as a former student, you know, you might have a little room change. There might be things that pop up, or you might have one class in this room, one class in this. So I didn't really think too much of it. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Spring break, you know, me and all my friends were talking about going to the Dominican Republic, and, you know, all my friends are getting tickets. We're sitting here getting reservations for the resorts, all the different stuff. Found a really good deal, all that. The week before we went out, he canceled all the trips, all the plans, and was like, well, let's go to Puerto Rico instead. And I'm like, why would you do that? I got all my friends buying tickets, you know, reserving, planning on going to DR for you to cancel all our reservations to go to Puerto Rico. And our friends were okay with it. They were just like, well, hey, you know, if he's covering everything, go have a good time. We'll just get you in the time. We travel a lot anyway. But I'm just like, okay, you know, whatever. But come to find out, he didn't have a passport. So that was like his way of trying to like not tell me he had a passport, which is not even something to lie about. Like, he just lied about a lot of stuff. And if it hasn't been clear, viewers, that's not his apartment. That was not his car. He's not in school. He wasn't working for Google or any of that. So let's just make that clear. And I'm going to tell you how I found that out. But, you know, so we decided to go to Puerto Rico. I get to Puerto Rico first, and, you know, when you check into a resort, you got to put your card down. So I'm telling him, I'm like, hey, you know, I know you get here tomorrow. I'm going to put my card down so I can check in. But when you get here, swap that shit out. Because mind you, prior to this, he's never, and I can say that he didn't scam me. And that's why when I found everything out and, you know, all that, one of my friends, she was dating a Nigerian guy. He does some scamming stuff too. So she was just like, well, maybe he really liked you. And that's the reason why he didn't scam you, but he just didn't want to tell you, you know, the truth. But I don't like liars. So it was a lose-lose either which way. But anyway, so, you know, Puerto Rico, put my card down. He comes the next day. He checks in. He swaps cards out. Great time in Puerto Rico. Had a really good digital excursion, sightseeing, taking pictures, doing all that good stuff. Great time. Room service, all that. Because he worked for Google. Room service, bitch, rack it up, you know? It's time to check out. And his card declined. And the people who work at the place did not remove my shit. And they just had it there as a second card. So they ended up charging my card. Now, mind you, if we would have went to the DR, I think it was only like 600 total for that whole week that we were there. And we're just going to split it 300. That would have been nothing. Puerto Rico, that was $2,400. Mind you, I'm unemployed. I'm a student, and you're charging $2,400 to my credit card because you didn't put a travel notice in and your card declined. Cool, but you got it. So when we get back, update that shit and reimburse me. So, we get back and all that, and we already had plans that following weekend he was gonna come to Iowa. And he did. He came to Iowa and all different stuff. And, of course, I'm going to welcome him and all that, whatever. But in the back of my head, we're going to get this together. So I remember, like, in my head, I figured, if you already know what the situation is, right when you get here, hey, baby, what's your cash out? What's your Zelle? Let's go to the bank. So, like, you initiate that. But I don't want to be the one like, hey, remember you owe me some money. I don't want to be that person, but I don't mind being that person. So, and I had to actually skip some classes to be that person because I took his ass to the bank because we about to go figure this out. We're about to figure this out together. Like, there was a certain number of absences that I could have, and I had them on the day because we're going to the bank. So, we go to the bank, and, I'm sitting down in the lobby. He goes up to the teller and he's, doing his little thing. I didn't want to be up there hovering because I'm just like, let you figure it out. But ain't nothing wasn't figuring out. So I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not understanding. And like, he was like, kind of like giving me all these different, excuses and all this shit. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, if you had the money before the trip and your car just declined because you didn't put a travel notice in, what's this thing? So, and he's trying to blow it off because we walk into the car, we're in the car, he's trying to blow it off. The car's not going in drive, sweetheart. Like, we're gonna sit here and make this make sense. I'm already not going to classes, so I got time. Let's go ahead and figure this out. So, he's just sitting here like, well, actually what it is that, what did he say? He said something about how he forgot that he took the auto pay of his rent off, and then that he actually owed his rent. And so it's for this month and last month. So he was like, let me just go ahead and pay my 2 months to get up to, whatever. And then I can give you the full amount the other time. Okay, cool. Call your apartment, because I could be annoying. So call your apartment. Let's figure this out, because they might could work out a payment plan for you. So he called, being dumb, because I would have been like, nigga, hell no. But he called. And me, I'm putting it on speaker so we can hear. And, we're trying to figure this out. And the apartments were just kind of like, well, I mean, you never had auto pay set up. So I'm just looking like, oh, okay. And he's just like, I guess, they were just kind of like, saying like, yeah, you are 2 months behind. So I guess that fact made sense. So I was okay, And I'm like, but don't your sister live with you? Because he told me, he was like, my sister lives with me. She's a flight attendant, and when she's based in Chicago, so when she's here, she stays with me and all this different stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, ask your sister to kind of like help out. I'm sure if she's staying there for free, she would not mind like helping you out until you get stuff together. But we're neither here nor there. I'm not really worried about how you figure it out. I just don't need my money, and you need to figure that out. So, I tried to, keep it cute for the rest of that weekend. And I was like, well, how about we break this down into 4 installments? Because even though you're sitting here saying you're this, consultant for Google, making 6 figures and all different stuff, clearly you got some other things that you got to pay for. And with me, what I learned from this situation was, when shit don't make sense, it don't make sense. Like, stop trying to make it make sense. Because I was like, well, maybe he has like, student loans that he's paying back, or maybe this, or maybe that. None of that. Because when we were in Puerto Rico, we coincidentally ran into some of his friends there, and we went, had some drinks and turning up and stuff like that. And one of the girls was just like, you know what, hey, patient zero, like, why did you leave? And I'm like, leave? And he was just like, oh, I transferred schools because, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, whatever. So I started at the University of Missouri, but then I went to, all this different stuff. But in my head, I'm just like, when you first meet somebody and y'all are like, oh, did you go to school? What degrees do you have? And all that different stuff. I feel like, speaking for myself, if I would have started at Howard and then transferred to the University of Texas, most likely I would have said that when you asked me about my school, career and the route that I took. So I'm just like, you never told me you transferred schools. That's another red flag, but okay, And mind you, my friend at the time, she over here looking up. She went to the school, looking at the graduation. She wants to when he graduated. So she looking at the list. She's like, I don't see his name on here. So we're just, so it's like it's all these different red flags. And in my head at the time, I'm just like, I don't want to just accuse him of something, without having tangible proof. But looking back at it, I don't need tangible proof. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense for a reason. So how all this stuff came about, I'm seeing all these different red flags, stuff not matching up, all this different stuff. And it was, I think, it wasn't spring break. It was like another break. Some break came up. And we were like, well, we're going to go to Houston. And, since you're going to be in my city, I'll cover stuff, take you around, show you around Houston. Then after Houston, we're going to go back to Chicago because family has this annual boat party. I don't know why we not like boat parties, but, we got this annual boat party. We're going to go there and turn up, whatever. Get to Houston and having a good time, whatever. I remember me, him, and my two friends were out eating, and he just kept like going to the restaurant. He just had this call, this business call, and all this different stuff. No business call. He's just trying to figure out how he gonna get some money to get a flight back to Chicago because he didn't even have a flight booked. So, I get to Chicago and I got there, I think, early in the morning because I had a direct flight. And he was telling me how he had a layover, but he didn't have a layover. He just didn't have a flight at all. So he's scamming, hustling. And to give details on how he takes the tag off, maybe do a little something to the hem and say that is one of his originals. And then he'll try to sell it. Or he'll have a cell phone and he'll advertise it on social media and send people invoices, and they're sending them money for this phone, but they never receive the phone. So he's just showcasing this phone and multiple people are sending invoices for this phone, but he's going ghost. And he would just advertise different things, and that was one way he would scam. The other way was when I found out. So I get to Chicago and I'm telling him, hey, I made it. He's like, oh, I'm at my layover in Atlanta, so I'm gonna be there shortly, whatever. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to the apartment. I'm tired. And he was just kind of like, oh, you could just, drop your luggage off at the leasing office and just, tour around Chicago. Nigga, no. I'm tired. I'm not gonna be running around Chicago. Nigga, is your sister at the house? Matter of fact, I'm gonna go find out my damn self. I go to the apartment and she there. So I go in there. I'm about to go to the room to knock out. His door is locked. And me being ghetto, I'm about to go get a butter knife because, bitch, I'm tired. But, he was just like, no. My room's in a mess. I'm not even worried about that. I'm about to swipe all that up. I'm tired. But he was like, just, take it, just go on the couch. Okay, whatever. So, I'm getting on the couch to go to sleep. His sister comes out the room because, she's his roommate, And she comes out the room and she's just like, hey, I don't want to disturb your nap, but I had a question for you. Me and my, I guess their third sibling, another sister, she was based in Hawaii. She was in the Army. And she was on FaceTime with the sister that was there in Chicago. And they were just like, do you know anything about like patient zero owing people some money? And I was like, why? And they were just like, yeah, because this individual came to St. Louis, banging on our mom's door, scene looking for him to get some money. I'm like, I don't know anything about that, but I'm like, so far has not been adding up to where I'm not too surprised. And what sparked the investigation on my end was when she was like, yeah, because he hasn't even been contributing here. I'm thinking about breaking this lease and getting another apartment. I'm like, what you mean? You breaking his lease? I'm like, ain't this his shit? She's like, nigga, no. She was like, this is my apartment. She was like, when he dropped out of school, I said, dropped out? Like, she was like, yeah, she was like, me and my dude was living in a studio. He dropped out of school and asked our sister for $500, saying that he was gonna put that money on the balance for his last semester. But instead, he took the money, dropped out, and showed up to her studio and was living on a couch for a couple months until she said, it's too congested. I'm gonna get us a 2-bedroom apartment to accommodate her, her boyfriend, and her younger brother that's a dropout, that doesn't work for Google, or family. So I'm just like, so just within the first couple of minutes of this conversation, I'm just like, what the fuck? So, I'm just okay. So I'm like, this is not his apartment. I'm like, he doesn't have a degree. And if he doesn't have a degree, he's working for Google. And she was just like, that part. So I just kind of like, bookmarked that one. And, we're just sitting here like trying to figure out like, where's his money going? Why can't he, contribute to these bills? So I was just like, well, maybe it's his car note. And she was like, car note? I said, yeah, like the black truck outside, like, is it paid for or is he still paying for it? She was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, bitch, what you talking about? And she was just like, that nigga ain't got no car. She's like, he don't even got a driver's license. I'm like, no. I had to take her to the window. So you telling me this black truck right here is not his truck? She's like, nigga, no, that's the neighbor's truck. I said, that is so crazy because even though he did not drive it while I was there because of, parking and, because we were gonna be drinking, one day he picked me up from the airport in the same color, make, and model truck. And when I thought about it, I remember when he picked me up from the airport, I was like, when you get a dent on the back of your truck, like, I mean, we talk every day throughout the day. I would think that if somebody dented your shit, you would have said that. Like, that would have been something that would have aggravated you enough to mention that on a conversation. And he was like, oh yeah, just somebody, parked wrong and, whatever, but I'm gonna get it fixed. But what he did was, because I did all my investigation after the fact, what he did was he borrowed his friend's truck that looked like his neighbor truck to come pick me up because he knew that the neighbor was gone and the truck wasn't there. So then he parked his friend's truck in the neighbor's spot, trying to make the lie match up. So after me and the sister is sitting here realizing, okay, so no apartment, no education, bookmark job, no car, bitch, I got a headache. So I'm just like, it's just a lot. So I'm just like, okay, I'm processing. And she was so sweet. And she was just like, I really didn't want to start anything. Like, just try to enjoy the weekend. And I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy this weekend. I was like, when your brother gets his ass here, we're going to have this conversation, bitch. I was like, but I'm going to try to keep it cute. So, so she went in the room and I was talking to myself. I was like, because mind you, I was trying to book a flight because I was like, I'm going to have this conversation with his ass. I'm dipping. But the flight wasn't looking on Saturday. So I was like, well, maybe I could try to be fake for Saturday and leave out on Sunday. So I booked my flight for midnight of Sunday. So he, so mind you, while me and the sisters having this conversation, he's blowing our phones up. I mean, I'm sure he probably, they probably have a conversation. Because when I look back at it, every time I went over there, me and the sister was never left alone. Like, every time I was serious, like, hey, good morning, what's up, whatever, on our way out. Or, or she's on her way out. Like, we've never really just sat down and talked. So, and when I look at it, he kind of orchestrated that. Like, he tried to, make sure, we didn't really have that opportunity. So now that we're sitting here and we having this opportunity, blowing our shit up. And I'm telling her, she was about to answer, bitch, we on to something. Put that phone down. Let's figure this out. So we're sitting here, talking through whatever, She had to, I think the sister on FaceTime, the phone died or something. That sister, she was like, oh, well, since the phone died, she left to Whole Foods or something. So now that I'm in this apartment by myself, I was like, he was really adamant about me not going in his bedroom. So, I went and got that butter knife and I go in his bedroom. You could tell that he was like scrambling up some type of scamming plan before he came to Houston or something. Because right when I walked in, everything was right there. Like, it was like a stack of paper. One on top, it had his paycheck stub, not from Google, making 6 figures. The nigga was working at a hotel making like $11 an hour. And underneath that, and what's crazy is that he said, when we were talking about going to Polo Classic and stuff, he was like, oh yeah, I'll cover the hotel because Google has discounts for hotels. No, bitch, you work for the hotel. But either which way. So under the pay stub, he had people's sensitive information. I mean, Social Security, he had their passports, just all type of like credit card information, all that. So I'm just like, okay. And then when I passed that up, he had another check stub for a staffing agency, which made like $8.50 an hour, and he had sensitive information there. So of course I'm putting two and two together, and I'm like, okay, clearly the nigga's a scammer. And what it looks like what he does is go to these different jobs just so he can get his hands on things, dip, because if they fire you, they could open up an investigation. They can't open up an investigation for somebody that already left. So he's just like, let me grab up some shit, let me go, use up this shit, find another job, get some more shit, and that's the kind of cycle that he was going through. So, I called up one of them jobs on the check stubs. So I'm like, let me see, maybe I'm still trying to give the benefit of the doubt. So, I call up there, I'm like, hey, is a patient 0 up there, at work? And she was just like, oh no, he doesn't work here no more. And I was just like, oh, okay, like, why was he terminated? Oh no, that's confidential, we cannot say that. Oh, God, I understand. I said, do you know so I'm starting to read the people's sensitive. I said, do you know what this person, that person, this? And she was like, that's our candidates that are trying to like get hired on here. And I was like, well, is it like common practice for a person in patient 0's position to have this stuff at his place? And she was like, no. She was just like, he just works at the front desk. I said, interesting. I was like, well, it looked like he got all this shit over here, girl. So what you want to do? She was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and as both of y'all said, oh, look, it get good, didn't it? But talk about some, well, I'm going to transfer you to HR so you can make you a statement, all this stuff. Great. Transferred to HR, made that statement, whatever. Going through other stuff in the room, I definitely found like open condom wrappers in the backpack. So I'm just like, okay, so I need to go get tested because you probably know about that too. Just all type of stuff. I'm just seeing all type of shit that just wasn't adding. So, of course, put everything back exactly how it was. Left the room, locked it. I go lay my ass down on the couch in the living room like nothing happened. So he gets in, I think it was like maybe like o'clock at night because he had a delay. He was trying to get some money. Because matter of fact, I actually found out later on who gave him that money for that flight. It was a guy that lived in Chicago that I guess hit him up saying, oh, I want to go to Houston to surprise Devin for his vacation or whatever, but something's going on with my card and all sorts of stuff. Like, do you mind just, send me this money so I get this flight? I'll just pay you back tomorrow, all this different shit, whatever. And the guy's like, yeah, like you work for Google, like you gonna pay me back? Whatever. So he, gets there. It's very hard for me to like lie and control my facial expressions. So I'm trying for his sister and for my flight that's the next day to hold it together. But right when he came in, it wasn't like usually it was like give him a hug, like what's up, how was your flight? Right when he came in, he went straight to his room. He went straight to his room. He twisted the knob and it was locked. So it's like he didn't even go in the room. He just twisted the knob and then he went in the kitchen, got like a glass of water, and then kind of came down and was just like, why you ain't pick up my calls? Like what? And why? Like you didn't see me calling you. And in my head, I'm looking like. I can't even say shit. I'm just like blank. And I just remember looking at this nigga and he dropped all that conversation because I know my face. So I was just like, I was like, let's go out. I was like, because if we stay in here, I might drag your ass and your sister if she jump in. So let's go ahead. Let's go out. Let's keep it friendly. So he goes and he's showering all this different shit. I'm already dressed and ready. Now, mind you, that truck that I pointed out to his sister earlier was in that spot, but it wasn't there. So I'm like, let's see what he's gonna say, because clearly the owner of their vehicle is driving a shit. So, he comes out, he's ready to go out or whatever. And, I'm just looking out the window like, oh, like, your truck's out there. Like, where's your truck? And he just like, it quickly was just like, oh, well, the lot was full, so I had to park it down the street. And I'm just like, I'm like, first of all, you are really quick with that shit. Second of all, that don't make any sense because this is permanent parking. So nobody should be in your spot. But I'm not going to say nothing. Let's get out this house because, bitch, you lying. So we sitting here, going out. And since his sister apartment was in Hyde Park, we were in walking distance to stuff. So we were like, we're going to check out these little bars in this area, and if it's lit, cool. If it's not, this girl that I knew that went to Chicago Law School, she told us some places downtown. Cool, let's check some shit out. So we go to this little area, and I guess it was like a 90s themed party or something. So they were like strictly enforcing the attire, and we didn't have it. So I was just like, okay, well, hey, the party downtown is like, I think it was like free before 12 or some shit. Call an Uber, because mind you, we were just in Houston, and I'm the one, covering shit. We in your city. Call us an Uber. So I'm sitting here watching him, pull up the Uber app, and it had about maybe like 5 to 7 cards linked to the Uber app. It was like maybe a $3 drive, a $3 commute. All these cars declined, all of them. He gets out of Uber, he goes to Lyft. He had like another set of cards linked to this one. All of them declined. So mind you, I'm just looking and I'm just watching. And then he's just like, oh, my apps are tripping. Like, you think you could call it? I was like, we can walk to your car that you parked down the street and we just chance parking, or we just try to find something else in the area or get something to eat. He's like, oh, let's get something to eat. Okay. Because your car's not down the street. So, okay, let's get something to eat. So we go, order some food, and I'm just quiet. I can't even talk to this nigga. So I'm just sitting here just in my phone. I'm not even trying to look at this nigga. I'm just, in my phone, whatever. Food comes, and, we go to his place. I'm in the kitchen eating. He's in his room. I'm done eating. I go to the room. He's sleeping. So if I go downstairs, I'm talking to my best friend, like, nigga. I was like, why? So I'm telling my friend, all this different shit. And I'm just kind of pacing downstairs in the lobby. In the lobby, it was like glass doors and windows, and you have to buzz in if you live there. But I guess just being nice, somebody was walking up. I assume that they lived there. So I just opened the door so they could come in. And when they came in, the guy, it was like this like light-skinned guy, he had like tattoos and stuff, and he was just like, hey, like, is there a leasing office here? And I was like, I don't live here, so I don't really know. And he was just like, yeah, because I was looking for a patient 0. And I'm like, And my friend on the phone talks like, bitch. I said, yeah. Oh, you looking for him? So I was like, I could call him. And he was like, oh, no, it's all good or whatever, and all this different stuff. So he goes out, and he's going back and forth between calling patient 0, typing in the little number on the keypad, hoping that he'll answer, but he's upstairs asleep, so that's why he's not answering it. So he's going back and forth doing all that. So he did that for about a good 5 minutes. So I go open the door one more time. I was like, I can go get him. That's who you're here to see. And he was like, well, I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes. And I'm like, bitch, what you mean? But before he said anything, patient 0 calls me like, where you at? So I'm downstairs. We got some company. Bring your ass downstairs. So he come downstairs, and it was like a transaction. Like, he comes downstairs and gave the guy a phone, and the guy left. So I'm just kind of like, processing this. And he was like, you coming upstairs? And I'm just like, no, I'll be up there a little bit on the phone, my best friend or whatever. So he goes, I'm just kind of processing it. And I'm just like, that's interesting because you had, and I think he had like a gold iPhone 10X, but ended up getting the XR because he said that his phone broke and he had to send it in, and they gave him a replacement phone, the XR. And he was talking about some, Bevan, like, I know that you're in school, you're trying to limit your bills and stuff. how about you get on my phone plan and I'll pay the phone bill? And I was just like, well, no, like I feel like I haven't had any issues with paying my own phone bill. Like, I'm fine, thank you, but whatever. And he gets upset. I'm like, you mad because I'm not letting you pay my phone bill? Like, I don't get it. But what it was, because I did my research after, the nigga that came to get the phone, mind you, me and him never posted pictures of us together. When we were in Puerto Rico, we was posting pictures of us together. Come to find out, the nigga that came for the phone, that was that nigga phone because he was on that nigga's phone plan. And when he saw that he was in Puerto Rico with another nigga, he was like, oh, you in a situation, I want my shit back. And that's the reason why he came up there for his phone. And when he actually realized who I was when I said I could go get him, it was like, oh, I don't want to step on nobody's shoes because you saw me on his post. Bitch. So I was just like, this is a lot. So I just remember, I was like, okay, I'ma just like, do we need intermission if I keep going?
Like, no, it's fine.
So I was like, okay, cool. I called my best friend like, bitch, don't fight. I'm not gonna try not to. But I was just like, I'ma just go to sleep. I was like, I'm gonna try to sleep it off. And hopefully when I wake up, I can just go to the airport, whatever. So, I go up in there, my dramatic ass, head at the foot of the bed, facing the wall, wrapped up in my own blanket, because, bitch, don't talk to me. So, so I'm just in this bed, and I'm just like, so whatever. So he gets up, and he was just like, what's wrong with you? Like, I was like, because, bitch, you about to lie. I was like, don't even start lying. Just be quiet, go to sleep, I'm gonna go to sleep. So, and he was like, no, what are you talking about? Like, So he was just like, well, I guess because he was like, clearly I'm just not, with it. So I guess he was just like, well, no, like, whatever you want to talk about, like, talk about it. So I'm like, look, if we're going to agree to have this conversation, talk about it and be honest. Because if you start lying, I'm about to go because I ain't got time for this. And I will wait at that. I will wait there. So, I tried to start off like, I was just like, what I said, I think I started off with, so I guess to not throw his sisters under the bus, I didn't make it seem as if me and his sisters were all having a conversation. I tried to make it seem as if I overheard their conversation. So I was just like, yeah, I just overheard, your sisters talking about how you owe somebody money because they came banging at your mom's door. And he was like, oh, no, that's just with my friends. Like, we just loan each other money, and I do owe him some money, and I haven't got around to giving that money. So, I was paying you back for the, Puerto Rico trip and all this kind of shit. So, that's just something I'm going to have to work out, all that stuff. And then, me not having smooth transitions. So, who apartment is this? Because I'm just like, a bitch, you lied. So, I'm like, what apartment is this? He was like, what you mean? Who apartment is this? I'm like, how should I say it? So, and he was like, me and my sister live here. Who apartment is this? Let me repeat it again, And he was just like, well, it's in my sister's name. Okay, sister's apartment, got it. Where your car at? Like, where your car? And he was like, what you mean? Where is your car at? I'm like, I don't understand why I gotta repeat all my questions. So, where is that? Come on, I told you just park down the street. So you telling me you got a car? Yeah, I got a car. You telling me you got to drive a bike? Yeah, I got to drive. I'm about to go because bitch, you lying. So, I'm getting up, and I'm putting on my shoes and I'm like, about to roll stuff out. So I guess as he see me ready to go, he's like, well, no, like, like, what you want to know? Nigga, the same shit I've been asking. Like, is that your car? He said, no. You got a driver's license? He said, no. Did you graduate from school? He said, no. Do you work for Google? He said, yes. Bitch, I'm about to go because you lying. I was like, so I was just like, you were doing so good. Like, you were doing so. And the thing is, I'm very forgiving to where I would have, since I enjoyed hanging with him and I did like him as a person, I probably would have tried to work out something if he was honest. But I can't work out nothing with you can be lying. So it's just like, he was just kind of like saying stuff like, I work there, blah, 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 blah. So, me, while I was snooping in the room, I had my notes. So I was like, so what is the Optimum Hotel Management Company? He was just like, Oh, you went to my room? Yes, I did, and that's how I'm about to go. Cause bitch, you lying. You know, like he was just. And so I guess when he knew that I went through his room, he knew what all was in his room. This nigga jumped up out the bed. I'm looking like, bitch, you trying to fight? But he got up. He just sitting here processing, like, this nigga really went through my shit. And he was just kind of like, you know, trying to see what all I knew. And he was just like, you know, yeah, because, you know, I do work for Google, and all those files that you saw and all the information, those my clients' information. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. Because guess what? I also called the Optimal Hotel Management Company, and they said that you work at the front desk, and those are actually their candidates' files. So those are not your clients. So why are you still lying? So and he's just like flustered, all this shit, trying to explain stuff. I'm rolling my little suitcase out because it's time to go. So I'm rolling on out, and I go down to the lobby, and I already had. I'm going to the airport. Flight already booked. We got we're coming to pick me up because my card is linked to my account work. So I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. So I'm down there, and I guess when I was leaving, I guess he got upset. So I heard him like punch a wall or some shit. So his sister, like, you know, she texted me, and she was like, you know, is everything okay? You know, I heard like, you know, some scuffling. Bitch, it could not have been no scuffling between me and your brother, bitch. Like, so, that's not what happened. So that he just upset. He done hit a wall. Bitch, I'm about to go. It was not you. Your apartment is lovely. Hopefully you and your brother work something out, but I'm about to go. So, you know, I'm downstairs just like processing everything. And, you know, he comes downstairs, these little crocodile tears in his eyes, and he's just like, you know, trying to talk it out. I'm not even paying attention to him because I'm tracking to see when this Uber is pulling up because I'm ready to go. And I just remember like sitting down on the lobby chair, and he's like kind of like kneeling in front of me, like trying to talk. I'm tuned all the way out to where when he put his hand on my like knee to continue talking, I automatically big face this nigga because I'm sitting here looking like, at this point, you're no different from a random ass nigga on the street right now because I don't know who the fuck you are. Like, so go back upstairs. Like, it's gonna be okay. So, you know, my Uber pulls up, and, you know, as I'm rolling, you know, to my little, he's just like, so you just gonna let all this time go to waste? I'm just like, you sound crazy. I'm like, what you talking about? Let all this time go to waste? Like, what? Like, do you not understand that you sat here and was posting on social media and sending me pictures of graded assignments, talking about some, oh, I got a B- on this essay, but I'm gonna try my hardest to get an A+ on the next essay when you're not enrolled in school? Do you remember not sending me emails from your boss with a Google signature shouting you out for meeting your quota when you did not work at Google? Like, you were really going above and beyond for your lies. I cannot trust shit that you're saying.